Hello, greetings from the bottom of my heart. Hardik Swagat Sabka. I'm here for a brief live, and this is on the mystical mystics. So I'm speaking here on this behalf here. A little brief note. ये कुछ थोड़ा मैं द मिस्टिकल मिस्टिक्स के बारे में बताना चाहूँगा, जो मैंने पेज यहाँ पे शुरू किया है और वेबसाइट भी शुरू की है, and all the activities related with it. Meanwhile, I'll just share this to my page. तब तक I'll just keep talking to you so that we know we are present here with each other. So welcome to all of you. Yes, it will just take me a few seconds just to share this on my profile. Yes, I'm done. So I hope my voice is clear. मेरी आवाज़ क्लियर है, उम्मीद करता हूँ. Last time there was a big noise. And yeah, I'm checking my voice and it's clear, so that's fine. So nice to have all of you on this. Nice to have you all on this day or night, depending on which part of the globe are you from. So I just wanted to brief about the mystical mystics, which I have just started this page. It is all about the mystics. Mystics are the people who have transcended birth and death, the cycle of birth and death, and have gone beyond and are still in their physical body for a very divine purpose. And they have transcended all the lower tendencies of the soul, all the lower nature, and they are beyond all limitations. Even karmic baggages, they do not have karmic baggages. Evolved to such a level that they don't even have their body consciousness, and they're not even aware of themselves, because there is no mind. Mind also is absent. So you can see a lot of things have just got dissolved, and that is the reason they are called as mystics. They're very mystical. They do not talk directly. They do not teach directly. They do not preach directly. They talk very indirectly, and most of them don't even talk. So how their presence affect is their aura. The strong auras, their strong intents, if they make intents, that is. Their word is more than enough, because they're so pure that their words can manifest anything and everything. So they are mystical beyond, they are beyond definitions. You and me cannot define them. Literally, they cannot be defined. Very, very difficult. So we actually leave them to what they are. What we try to do is we try to connect with them and gain their help by being around them, or even not required to physically be around them, but even their presence astrally or subtly, सूक्ष्म शरीर से भी, they can be connected. So when you read about a mistake, or when you read about an अवधूत, और जब भी आप उनकी फोटो देखते हैं या वीडियो देखते हैं या कोई राइटअप देखते हैं, if you even mentally connect to them, you get connected. That's how powerful they are. Mentally, just bhav is enough, the intention is enough. The transactions happen most of the time subtly. If a person is not strong enough to get connected subtly, then he or she might have a little connection problem. Because as I told, they are beyond the limitations of the physical body. So that is one reason I started this page here, Mystical Mystics. And since it picked up well, I could even convert the blog Mystical Mystics into a website now, which has all kind of details now there coming up, and a lot of posts have been made there. I already had a blog called Divine Spots on Divine Travels, which was all about the travels that I did to all the multiple locations. All that I've clubbed into this, and I've discarded that earlier website. So the idea is to bring everything together and put it. It's like my whole lifetime of my journeys, my interactions, my learnings, my recordings, whatever I have done with the mystics, all kind of mystics. It could have been a saint, it could have been a yogi, it could have been just an evolved person, an enlightened being, a liberated being, an avadut, any kind of mystic. I call them all as mystics because they're very mystical. So all this I have put it in one place, and I'm still trying to put it there. Nowadays, what I'm doing much is more depth work, that is insight work of the mystics. It is much beyond what we see and talk, and it's more beyond the teachings and preachings and quotes that a mystic said this, mystic said that. Of course, they say a lot of things which is very mystical. So, in the mysticalmystics.com or this page, Facebook, what I've started, I'm only highlighting those deep mystical knowledge or wisdom or quotes. It's not the general as what we speak. Like general is like honesty is the best policy, follow truthful ways always, and live a pure life. These are all good words and quotes that we find everybody speaking about it. So I'm not bringing such kind of quotes there, which is very general. Mystical mystics is all about very mystical teachings, very in-depth teachings, very raw, very uncensored, as it is, which most of the time the world does not talk about, or we do not want to look into because they are too deep, they are complicated, or they are too much for our egos to bear. Yeah, most of the time this happens. It's too much for the ego to bear. So we push aside these kind of teachings. And it is more beyond the petty things of life. More beyond the petty things of life. It is more beyond my house, my work, my wife, my kids, my family, my world, my dreams, my careers, my job. It's much, much, much beyond this. It's more about my journey, my ascension. It's all about that. And true ascension takes place only when we catch on with the true essence. Like being enlightened or enlightenment in today's world is a very common term. Everybody wants to be enlightened, likes to be evolved, likes to be liberated, but they do not know what is liberation actually. It needs to be looked very deeply into what is liberation. If you look at these mystics, you'll say, I don't want liberation. So that's the misunderstanding that we have about enlightenment and liberation. It's definitely not a glamorous thing, nor it is something that is bad, or nor it is something that is very derogatory, or nor it is something very cheap. We do not know what it is to be liberated. We are all here. All the souls that you see on this planet is here for their ultimate liberation. But only a handful of them actually start walking towards this. And a handful of them get very serious about it. And are 24/7 very aware of it. 24/7 very aware, because you need to be constantly aware of these things than just be casual about it. Being good is okay, but not enough for liberation. So that is the reason I put this all together, and the mystical mystics is all talking about these kind of posts. Like if you see the latest post that I put there was about Jesus Christ. The mysteries of what Jesus meant when he said, thy whole body shall be light. He said the light of the body is the eye. Therefore thine eye shall be single. Thy whole body shall be full of light. This is a biblical term, very most of the time not understood in its depth. Everybody has different representation of this teaching, and they're all beautiful, they're all divine, nothing to be argued upon. They're all very divine teachings, but they are not the actual thing. That is not the mystical approach. That is not the exact, like a decoded version of the secret. That's not the secret yet. It needs to be meditated upon, and it can be only unraveled if you raise your consciousness. You cannot logically understand it. Logically, tark. There can be a lot of opposition, arguments, debates. This is it, this is not it. But when you go deeper and you see it from your consciousness point of view, there is no debate, no argument. You understand it, you get the message. There is no talk, there is no voice, there is nothing. There is only a knowing. You just know about it. How do you know? That's a mystery. That's the beauty of the consciousness. The consciousness just gets clubbed to the codes that the great mystics wanted to convey. It's like you've got properly coded into that, embedded into that kind of consciousness, and the code, the secret, so-called secret, seeps in very easily, and you just know. That is why when people ask, how do you know? What is the authenticity? When I write certain things, people ask, what is the authenticity of it? Or where have you got it from? What is the reference point? Because everybody is looking for reference. Reference comes from proof, evidence. And evidence and proof comes from logic, where there is a constant need to prove something, right or wrong. Because we are living in a world which is always battling between the right and wrong, eager to prove or disapprove somebody. Whereas the mystical world has nothing to do with this. It's a non-dual world. There is no scare about it. There is no insecurity about it. You're just being yourself, understanding and evolving. So this is what I wanted to share. And if I don't know, because when I share these kind of posts, I know the world is not yet ready, fully ready to catch on with the innermost core and the depth of all the mystics what they have to say. It's not yet ready. Superficially, yes, they are lured by something. It's like a glitter, it attracts you. But people just step into the living room, have a cup of tea, enjoy the talks and leave the living room. They don't want to get into the core of the house. That's how it is. So that's why today's spirituality is just more about gossip and talks, and a lot of talks and about the hulalas of the mystical world. Or it is just a fantasy, how it could be, what it could be. Whereas to enter into that depth is all in silence. There is no much of talk about it. So this whole post, I don't know if anybody has seen it, because normally we judge the post by the likes and the quotes people usually like, one-liner, two-liner, because it's very attractive and it keeps us entertained also most of the time, than actually glowing the thing within our souls. It keeps us entertained. I mean it. It keeps our brains and our minds little entertained, or it keeps us with some hope. In this dark world, when you see a positive quote, it just gives you some hope, but then that's it. That hope is just glittering for some time and then it fades out. Whereas these quotes are not just for hopes or entertainment. It is for some depth work. And this page I've opened it only for the people who are doing very deep work. And I'm sharing the posts that are very deep. People who are doing inner depth work will get it. Because I'm not putting anything here glamorous. I'm not putting anything coded or with a punchline that the secrets, the great secrets, the unknown stuff, and all that stuff. Because it will lure the wrong kind of people here. I don't want that. Even the mystics don't want that. The mystics are people who don't want the wrong crowd around them. That is why, till now, most of the mystics have never been known to the world because they prefer to be aloof from the world. There are very rare people who go to them, who reach them, or able to reach them, or rather called by them, and who receive from them. It's all that what you want. The deeper you want it, those deeper aspects shall reach you. It's all in the intent and the desire. So if you see, the mystics have always been in the dark. Not that they don't have promotions, not that they want promotions. They don't want. They want to be hidden because they are not meant for everyone. Even the mystics say this. Most of the mystics say this. This is not for everyone, or I am not for everyone. They say this for a reason. That is one reason we cannot directly go and decode stuff and put it out to the world, which is not yet ready to understand or listen to all these things. And for that reason, I am also not very focused on topifying or throwing stuff into people and making them understand. No, that's a wrong approach. It's like when you're ready, you get it. When we are ready, we get it. We receive only when we are ready. Because if we are not ready, our soul is not ready, how much ever even a mystic might try to put it to you, it will not make sense. That is why the mystics look mad to the people. Right now, we might adore them when you see the mystics on the website or whatever details you get here. You might do a pranam to them, but if you look at them, some mystics have not even shared the photographs. If I share, you will not like it. Raw nude, and they look like mad, dirty cannibals, literally. I have details of those people. But as I told, we are not ready. And what is it that makes us bow? It is our fear inside. Oh, it's a Mahatma, it's somebody great. That's all. Relevance. It is not for the depth understanding. It is not due to the deep connection within that we bow to them. You see, that's a difference. One is you bow in fear or greed. You want something from them, you bow. Your fear is there that something might happen, or they are such powerful beings, you bow. These both are of no use to the seekers. Whereas, when there is a connection of love, connection of respect and adoration, such a great master, somebody who has reached to that level, and that adoration comes from within, and then when you connect, that's the true connection. That is when the transaction happens. The other two transaction does not happen. That is why most of the people are disappointed. So even when I'm trying to write, when I myself approach the mystics, so many times my mind is always in the third category. It's not that I deliberately put it, it automatically happens. And from there is where that connection, that bond is established. And that same, I put it here. From that frame of mind, from that level of consciousness is what I put it here. So if the person reading it is in that kind of frame of mind, readiness, it will just seep through into the soul. What has to happen will happen. What has to be understood will be understood. No mind required. We just use the senses to read, a little bit of churning of the mind, that is the brain, Rest all the soul takes it. This is just the soul's window of the soul. Two windows, Bahimukhi. This is what Christ said. Instead of the Bahimukhi, two eyes, if you shut this, and if thine eyes be single, if these both become single, how can it become single when it comes here? And then you see from the inner eyes, that is what I'm talking about, the consciousness, the depth, not just reading. Liking a quote is this work, Bahimukhi. It is only for some time. Going into the depth of it is single eye. That is what Christ meant. If it becomes single, your whole body shall be full of light. That means your body will be full of grace, because the grace enters from here. Only when this is open can grace enter in. This is the Guru Chakra, Agya Chakra, the third eye. And I've put a lot of so-called secrets in that whole document. It is so long that I was thinking, oh, this has become too long. Then I said, it's fine. Because the people who are wanting shortcuts and they want to, oh, okay, who are Bahimukhi and they just want some entertainment, they will have it quickly and leave. But those who want to seep into it shall look at it from this. And there are a lot of details in that one post. It is about Jesus' one quote, but in depth I've talked about the rainbow body, that is the Divya Sharir, or the body of light, which leads to immortality, which is how the Siddhas, which is explained in so many Siddha so many texts of Siddhas, writings of Siddhas, like even the Tirumandiram and all these things are mentioned. Attaining the body of light, which our Gurudev also has explained many times as the Divya Sharira, the bliss body. Achieving that state is very, very difficult, but not impossible. And this is like a taboo to most of the people. They say that's a very difficult task to attain. And we talk only about scriptures. So in the scriptures, somebody has talked about these secrets. Let me tell you, dear ones, I've put it very clearly in the article also. These are not rare phenomena. This happens even today. There are thousands of people who till date have achieved this status. Thousands of them. All the cultures, be it a Taoist, be it an Egyptian, be it a Lemurian, or somebody from the civilization of the Atlantis, or the Pleiadians, or the Syrians. These are all powerful ancient civilizations who had this knowledge, and most of them were that. Today we feel we are on the heights of technology, which is false. We are not even a fraction of what these civilizations were. But today we have that pride that we have reached nothing. Probably we are not even 1/4 of the way what they had reached, that heights. So all these comes from them. The knowledge, the wisdoms come from them. The ancient Sufis of Iran, Persia, again connected with the Egyptians. Egyptian talked about Merkaba. Merkaba is nothing but the light body, the Divya Sharir. That is why I always stress that it's all one. It looks different. Now it has diversified very badly. But once upon a time, everything was one. The Taoists call it the diamond body, or the cloud walkers. Taoism, again, which is Bhogarnathji's work, which was spread in China as Lao Tzu. His same very much knowledge, the Siddha knowledge is there. Now we might say, oh, Siddhas are superior. There is nothing superior or inferior. Because this pride also is very agonizing when I see anything you speak. Each culture will take it and say, oh, this is ours. There's nothing called ours. Anything today we speak, they say, oh, this is our tradition, it has come first. We are not here for a rat race. We speak this ours and first and pride and all that, but the people who owned it in those days never had this kind of a pride. For them it is Vasudeva Kutumbakam. Vasudeva Kutumbakam. One family. The whole world was a family and there was no caste creed or religion. They thought about everyone, male, female, including all the species as one, as togetherness, oneness. They never boasted about it. We do it. It is because of the ego separations, the ego minded, due to the separation, the ego. When it is more strong, this happens. So even there is nothing called our Siddhas. There's nothing to be prideful about. Siddhas also is a term which we have termed. They never had any terms. The moment you say, you give them a name, an identity, you separate them from oneness. Whereas it was not that way. This is the deep secrets. So until we realize this, we cannot go there. Because if we go into these texts with an egotistical mind, we will receive only that which is limited and only that which still causes separation and that which is not complete. It will be only incomplete knowledge that we are taking and still feeling prideful that we have got some secrets. It cannot be. Because again, this golden body, this diamond body, this Divya Sharira, Vajra Sharira it is also called, referred by many cults. The alchemical body, they call it, or the immortal body. All this can be attained only and only when there is oneness. When there is oneness means unconditionality. There is no even fraction of diversity, not even a fraction. Yes, all the people, all the thousands who achieved that state, you do your research and see they were embodiments of unconditional love. They did not have even a fraction, because if you have a fraction, you're not complete. To have that kind of a body. What is a Divya Sharira? What is a rainbow body? What is that diamond body? Vajra body? It is a body which is all subtle and no physicalities. I mean, there is no physicality, you cannot touch it. Like Ramlinga Swami is the only person right now who has become very popular for having a Divya Sharira, for the golden body of light. But you look into his teachings and look into the way he lived his life, there was no separation at all. Unconditional love just flew. Because when all your cells become from carbonized, they become completely crystalline. Crystalline is the property of light. It emits only light. And when all the cells are emitting only light, that is the only time one can attain the body of light. That status is the body of light. And to achieve that, it has to be only an element of love, which I am saying unconditional love, because no conditionality, pure love. Only the people who can reach to that kind of a state can attain this kind of a body. Now the methods are many. There are many practices to reach that state. These practices are what got separated and named and termed as a cult. Like the Siddhas practiced a certain modality, a practice to reach that Divya Sharira, which we termed as XYZ practice. And we say that is the way of Siddhas. And there has been a certain following. Whereas the Egyptians, the pharaohs, the people who practiced the Merkaba and attained that state also, which they also say as Ak, is referred to as AKH, Ak, or Karast. Karast. Karast has got deep encoded mysteries and loads of teachings, very mysterious, very secret teachings, which is also known to be embedded into the emerald tablet, the green tablet. Tablet is that stone what you write, and you can find that in front of the Sphinx, that lion kind of a character sitting there near the pyramids. You see in between both the hand, the tablet is there. That's the emerald tablet that has all the secrets of the Ak or Karast. And Karast is what? Karast is again got reference with Christ. See the link? See the connection? It's all very mysterious. So all these ancient cults, or whatever you call them, civilization, whatever you call them, they had different methods to reach that highest state of pure unconditional love. Their methods were segregated into this secret, this mystery, that mystery. So you catch any mystery, you go there. Ultimatum is you develop complete unconditional love and oneness anyway. Probably if you do it your own way, in some other way, and if you truly achieve that state, yours also will be known as one more way, so and so way, so and so secret, because everybody is trying to achieve that state, various ways, their own ways. These are the main people who achieved it. Once they achieve it, then everybody follows one. The followers of that lineage follow that. They master it. So nobody can say ours is the best or ours is the only way. Until we understand this from a lower point of view, we are still stuck in our caste. Got it? So these will not make any sense. My caste, my creed, my community, my path, my religion, my people, my group, my cult, my faith, my belief, or our culture, our belief, our tradition, our religion. It's good for just becoming a good person and evolving. Till there, so far, so good. But to the point of reaching the rainbow body or the golden body or the body of light, all this has to be shed. There is no other way out. So that is why when I speak about the highest teachings. Why get stuck with these lower ones here? The mystical mystics is what I am trying to bring out, these teachings, which are at that level. And for that level, many don't understand it because they are functioning at this level. Still caught up in me and mine. This will not make any sense. It's okay. But I am telling those who are ready for this, you get a lot of secrets there. You don't call it a secret actually, because secret is again the ego mind. It's like, I know something, there's something hidden somewhere. Nothing of that sort. When you evolve, when your consciousness is ready, it will just pour into you. There is no need to even hunt. So even the intention, if it is focused on the highest, it will happen. The process will happen. Intention and desire should be strong and focused on that ultimate. Then all these things will just come into you. Because see, if my idea is focused here, all these things are happening. What are all the things that I'm able to do here are coming as an outcome of that intention. It's a manifestation of that, because all that you do, all that you speak, all that you serve in any way will all be in alignment to that. It's product of that. So you don't have to, I actually don't have to focus on these, what happens here, because it's a very spontaneous activity. I don't know how it happens, what happens. Like all these things that I'm putting up here, there is no plan at all. This is what I want to share with you today once. There's no plan. Even this mystical mystics was just one, not even an overnight plan. Tomorrow let me do this. I was sitting and writing some article, just named it as something, and I said the mystics. I said, wow, nice name. I said I have so many notes on this. Why not put it in one place? I checked out for a name, I was not getting in. Finally, I got this mystical mystic. Then I thought, let me keep it a free blog. Let me run on it. But now I go to see it's become a website in itself, and it's got so many things coming in. And due to that website, I was looking into a lot of other subjects and saints and mystics into their lives to bring down that and accumulate it here for the right kind of people who are ready for that kind of stuff. Because not everybody is ready, and I'm telling you, it's not for everyone. Even these people who are listening to this, I think you must be ready for it. That's why you're listening to it. Otherwise, you'll not get bothered by these. You'll not have interest in these. So it is the way of the liberated ones, and there are very deep. I'm not here to share those secrets. Again, I'm telling you, there are many methods, and there are people, thousands of people still hunting for all these mysteries. Many, they are going into the caves, going into the pyramids, going into the underneath the seabed and finding the civilization and hoping to find some stuff from there, hidden stuff. That's all gross. Most of the teachings have disappeared. Like the Mitra, the civilization of the Mitra, Mitra. He was referred in those days as sun god, not just a sun god. He was actually the supreme embodiment of light. That is why he was referred to sun. Sun is light and energy. And he had a whole civilization with him that followed the Mitra. Mitra was one of the oldest, even before, I think, before or close to at the time of Christianity. After Christianity, it just got lost. Christianity submerged it. It got lost. And who was Mitra? Is what we are talking about right now. The body of light, the supreme master, the body of light, holding that. Today he is believed to be in the consciousness, in the mass consciousness, as a supporter to all those who are bound to become light, who wish to become the body of light. They are doing their work on the astral realms. They're not gone anywhere. But if you see all the references, all the mysterious teachings, and all the references of Mitra and I don't know what they call it, Mithraism, Mithranism, Mithrism, something like that. It's all gone. So there is no point of reference anywhere. Mitra and Lord Maitreya, the ascended master Maitreya, are all the same. But again, if you see, Lord Maitreya, the ascended master Maitreya, has a different cult following. He's taken as different, but actually Mitra and Maitreya are same. There are some references that Maitreya and Christ are the same. It's very mystical. So we need not get into all that, because again that's ego game, trying to say, okay, that was Christ, this is our Christ, that is our Mitra and all that. They don't have all that stuff. The idea is to catch what these beings were trying to give, and even they give today. Without the grace of these beings, we cannot even decipher as to what is this. These are the protectors of that sacred mysteries. Protectors because all this can be misused. That is why from ancient times all this have been very closely kept, guarded, as guarded secrets, because it should not go in wrong hands. If it goes, there can be problems. So they are known as the protectors. They protect all this. That is why it is very uncommon to find the secrets. At the same time, people feel it is impossible to get these secrets, or very difficult to get, but I don't think so. If your consciousness, again I'm repeating, if your consciousness is ready, the way shall appear, the medium shall appear, the thing shall appear. It all depends on the purity of intention. I have referred this in one of my previous videos also, where I said it is like a lock. What is the lock to all these so-called secrets? It is the bhava. Bhava is the key. Everything is locked. No one can open it. With whatever brains, intelligence, physical methods, technology, whatever you call it cannot be opened. The simple key that the divine has given to all this is the bhav, intention. See how beautiful it is. That is how this has been protected very well and got in the hands of only those whose intentions are pure. Who are these only those? Same people that I put in all this. I've mentioned so many people. There are lakhs of people, but even the Tibetan monks who have achieved this and even today achieve it. But since the legal laws and all don't permit it, they don't officially publicize it, but it's happening. It is said every 5,000 years one Tibetan monk enters into this state, the rainbow body. The rainbow body is something that shrinks. The body starts shrinking towards the end of life. The subtle becomes powerful, the physical becomes little and lesser and lesser and lesser and lesser and lesser. If you remember, I had also made a post, Mystical Mistakes, about a Jiva Samadhi of the Siddha Sanmarga tradition. One Siddha has taken Samadhi there, and another, one of his colleagues, is explaining how they take this. I don't know, the people who are very cautious about these posts, they are not just casual posts, but they're very cautious. They will understand what I'm trying to say. His colleague said that his hands are very supple, and even after he's dead, physically dead, so the body is there and he's explaining. He said one thing before leaving, that about his guru. Guru is Sivananda Paramahamsa of Vadagara. He was talking about his guru. And when he left Vadagara and went to Palani, place of Bogarnaji, for his final sadhana, people asked, where are you going? And he said, I am going back into my mother's womb. And he left Palani. People did not understand what he's saying. This is what the Siddha was trying to say. I'm going back into my mother's womb. How can you go back into your mother's womb? But he said that while writing this post of Jesus, while I was working on this project of, because I spent around 2-3 days fully on this, and that is how, of course, I've referred the internet, but most of it I've written it down. Everything I've written it down. Complete post I've written it down. So it is an gathering from multiple resources to put it and frame it and make sense. Otherwise, if you go and read one particular doctrine, the other particular tablet, and it doesn't make sense. So my effort was to just put it in simple words so that simply it can be understood. Again, it needs awareness. Otherwise, it cannot be understood. So while I was working on that, suddenly what came to my mind was this incident where he said, the Sivananda Paramahamsa said, I'm going back to my mother's womb. And that is what happened after he went to Palani. He left his body in Palani after a couple of months of intense tapas there. He was a very powerful man. Now his Jiva Samadhi is in Vadagara. I've been there. And one of his Swamis in the lineage is Mohan Swami, who was the first yogi that I met in my life, who taught me a certain breath work. It was again from his master's lineage. Very powerful practices to attain purity of consciousness. So somehow I'm linked to them, and that is why it interests me. So when he said, I'm going back to my mother's womb, and in the rainbow body, exactly this happens. When a person, enlightened being, is attaining the rainbow body, the body starts shrinking. You won't believe it goes to like 2 feet. The whole body, maybe 5-6 feet, starts shrinking and it reaches about 2 feet. The head is as it is, but the rest of the body becomes like 2 feet or 1.5 feet. It can be wrapped in a cloth, and I saw those bodies. I'll share this. That is why I'd written in that post. More of this next time, because this was more about Jesus' teachings. I just wanted to stick there. But there's more. I'll share those photographs of real yogis who have achieved that and still achieve it. The head is the same. The body shrinks into 2 and it looks like a baby. Now it made sense to me what he was trying to say, which I doubt even the people of the community actually know about what he was trying to say, because in that video's explanation, that saint was explaining it, but in a little different way. But what I could relate it was exactly this. And this happens even after samadhi. If it is a rainbow body, it can, after the death, it takes about 7 to 10 days to start shrinking and becoming smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and minute, and then it becomes like a bird and evaporates. This is how the entire body evaporates into thin air. And I'm sure this is the process what Ramalinga Swami must have undergone, because many tried to study what he had done, but nobody could get it till date. Because he had closed the rooms and then he had just evaporated into light. There is no documentation after that, but everybody knew he had entered the room, talked to his disciples last, and after that he was not seen in the room. What the process happened, I don't know. Nobody knows, but I'm sure it was this. The rainbow body, because he had already attained the rainbow body. Vallallar, Vallalar is Ramlinga Swami. And sure shot, he had followed the same process of disappearing into light by attaining the rainbow body. Now, rainbow body is again, it's called rainbow because after the Mahatma leaving the body, usually if it has attained the rainbow body, the enlightened being, because you will never know by looks, it looks very common and gross. No one can even fathom as to their internal state just by looking at the body. It's impossible. So when a Siddha actually attains the rainbow body and leaves his body, a rainbow appears immediately at the Samadhi spot. That's an indication that it has become a rainbow. And this has been reported in many Siddhas, Jiva Samadhis especially, seeing the sighting of rainbow. But this phenomena is not very popular. So there are a lot which I put it in that post. I don't know if you caught it. This I'm saying right now, these things. This is not again that more people go and read it. No, I don't mean that. See. Sri Aurobindo of Pondicherry, if you know. I've been to his Samadhi also. Powerful Samadhi. He and his disciple, the mother, both their Samadhis are there. In a place called Auroville in Pondicherry, Tamil Nadu, India. If you get an opportunity, do go there. Sri Aurobindo was working on the body of light. He was an admirer of Vallalar or Ramlinga Swami. Not very popular, these things. This is more on the supramental meditations and everything on the supramental level. If you see his books or any of his teachings, Sri Aurobindo. But he was working very intensely to attain that. Many saints, many siddhas are not able to achieve it completely. Sometimes they leave the body, or sometimes death occurs without the completion of that. Probably they do it in their next field of life, dimension of life. But Sri Aurobindo was trying for it until his last. That is why when he left his body is reported to have, suddenly his skin became golden. It had not reached the complete process, but the effects on the cellular level. There's a strange kind of fragrance all over in the room. This is all indications of the purity, level of purity, but it has to go to such a level to dissolve completely. Very extreme states, very high states. Christ had achieved this. This is how there is a famous, in the Bible, the ascension of Jesus Christ, where he ascends with his body. This is exactly how he got out of the tomb after he was put into the tomb, burial tomb, after the so-called death from the cross. Good Friday, Easter, 3 days, they found there was no body inside. Same process. Disappeared. And he appeared to one of his closest disciples, St. Thomas. St. Thomas was the one who wrote the complete chapters of the mysteries of Christ, the missing pages of Jesus Christ's life from the age of 13 to 28. It was St. Thomas who wrote it. And this is what the post I put there, a lot of books and all down there. It's all about St. Thomas's writings, which is not there in the Bible for whatever reasons. Christ had achieved that state. So it is that same Christ who had achieved that state of body of light, rainbow body, and more than that, who is now saying, if thine eye be single, thine body shall be full of light. The same secrets that is sharing, which most of the people are finding very difficult to understand. That's why I linked all this and put it here. And where did Christ learn it from? The Himalayas, from India and Tibet, which is what St. Thomas wrote. That means he learned it from the yogic traditions or the Siddha culture tradition, the Himalayas. And that is focused on the third eye, which is again, if you go very deep into the Shambhala, the practice of Shambhala, the secrets of the mystics there, their practices. I don't want to get too detailed into it. It's not needed right now, but there is a practice called from the Surya Vigyan. Most of them do it in the yogic culture, where again the rays of the sun is taken here into the third eye, and there is a certain process and method to from there supply it from the hub, that is the pineal gland. How to enter the pineal gland? This is the door of the pineal gland. From here the light enters into the pineal gland. Pineal gland is the main generator from where it is supplied to all the other organs, means all the other cells. There are various secretive methods that they follow there in the Himalayan tradition. From there it is supplied. Why I'm just saying it to link it with what Jesus Christ, because once it goes into the cells and the cells illuminate, then only the property of body of light comes in. Christ learned it from there. And this is the same Christ is talking about, if thine eye be single, means it's not on this focus. If you withdraw from the Bahimukhi and get into the oneness and conditional love, the non-duality aspect from here, and open up, pull in the light, supply it to the cell, thine whole body shall be full of light. This is what he said. You can see how deep these connections are. I had to write this because otherwise people will argue with me, oh, you don't know. They might say I'm anti-Christian, or there is no auntie or uncle here. Because the followers of the actual Christ have no religion. Those who follow Christ, because Christ was oneness. At that state, the body of light, you cannot think of my people, my community, opposite. That is why even the Romans who killed him, he was looking at his own people, like his own people. No difference at all. Even the enemy, he had so much of compassion. This is a proof and evidence of what I'm saying. He had reached that oneness and that unconditional love. I'm saying that has to be the stature of one to attain the body of light. Immortality to be attained. Ignoring that, rest all becomes only techniques and methods, which is good for today's world. Deeper, the core fundamentals are these. So if one walks towards that path with these deep core fundamentals, the doors open. Otherwise the doors only don't open. You keep knocking, banging your head against the walls. If I have hatred, if I still call me mine, my country, my people, my religion, still stuck in that my family, my community, my society, my things, my dog, all the my and me. These things are only for entertainment. Whereas, if this has to be made a serious subject, evolution, then the fundamentals should be strong. The purity, the oneness, the unconditional love. That is the reason I'm sharing these kind of, which will develop unconditional love, acceptance, forgiveness, non-judgmentalism. Just 2-3 days back I said the divine intents for the world. USA is suffering, literally suffering. Syria is suffering, Lebanon, you see there is, amidst this pandemic has already taken so much of stuff from people, so much of problems that people are in. Amidst this, we have all these things coming, bombings and wars, political dramas, community clashes, exposures happening in Hollywood and Bollywood and political arenas. Governance is collapsing. And to top it all, natural disasters. We have wildfires, forest fires. We have earthquakes. We have tornadoes. We have hurricanes going on right now in USA. Riots happening amidst the pandemic, riots, climatic changes, wildfires, hurricanes, tornadoes, government ups and downs. What all should people take? Countries are facing this. This is the reason I put divine intents for all. Whenever we do our practices, we ensure that a part of our practice, even a small percentage, maybe even 5% of our practice, at the end of every practice, we pray, we send light, we make positive intents, divine intents for everyone, and quit this habit of me and minus and the self-centeredness. This will never, my dear, I'm telling you from my heart and soul, this will never take us anywhere in spirituality. It might take us to a certain level, but it will drop us there. And from there beyond, you have to shed all these things. This is third dimensional phenomena. What we are entering into is the fifth and higher dimension, where it's all oneness, the fifth dimensional fundamentals. If this is not dropped, it will be stuck only in the third dimensionals, and we might feel that we have evolved, but that is why most of us feel there is something missing. People write to me in the email, oh, this is there, that is there, everything is fine, but there's something missing, something not happening, something still to be achieved, some sadness, some grief, something, that something is these. You don't want to leave these things. How can the evolution happen? If you cannot leave these things, all these third dimensional consequences will follow you. As simple as that. It's as simple as saying, I want to achieve the body of light, but I don't want to forgive that ass, that jackass who said this to me, who did this to me. Sorry, no body of light. When there is body of fight, there cannot be body of light. So it is only a drama that we are playing. It's only a myth that we are only creating. We are feeling. We are doing it. Anyways, this is all on free will. Nobody can tell you what to do and what not to do. It's all upon us. But I'm trying to say, trying to fill in the gaps, the bridge. If you feel that there is something, it's this. Catch the fundamentals. If you don't have the fundamentals right, you cannot fly high. Everything will collapse. That is why the people, even on certain paths, they feel they've gone too high, and one fine day morning they get up and see, I'm wherever I am. Till yesterday I was flying and feeling blissful and everything fine, but today I see I'm the same old crap. Because of fundamentals. What I put in that post also. Our master has taught us this: acceptance, forgiveness, unconditional love. Three pillars of the path that the master taught. We ignore these three, nothing can stand over it. You do whatever practices you want. Even in the path only, you follow whatever highest of practices. Highest. Do everything. One day again you'll feel there is something missing. There is this that is missing. Because until your soul experiences oneness, experiences that love, it has to experience. That is missing. The love is not happening. Why it is not happening? Because of the crude choices that we have made. Inability to let go and look beyond a certain aspect. It's still the me, mine. We feel very prideful when it comes to my country, my religion, my faith, ours. It's all fine. It will give you momentarily pride and momentarily that valor and vigor and that kind of confidence and that kind of bravery. Everything you'll get. You might be sensing it also. But again, at the end of the day, you'll feel miserable. Miserable, why? Because somewhere in that crudeness, you are hurting no one but your own brethren. Whatever you are anti against is your own part of you. They might not seem to you. That's the Maya. That's the catch. Looking, they have done so. You might justify, look, this they have done. How can now this be possible? Somebody wrote me a mail. Why should my son suffer? And blah, 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 blah. This happened, that happened. That is to blame. This one is to blame. They did this, they did that. Yes, all fine. The Maya drama, everything looks that way. But deeper aspect, soul, it is all one. It has come from there. So until you let go of that, you'll not be at peace. Even the best fighters, courageous people, whatever you call it, end of the day they will have sleepless nights. Because somewhere they are damaging those who are part of themselves. It is just like seeing a body. You have a whole body and you say my elbow has a problem. You say it's elbow's problem. My head is okay, my eyes are okay, ears are okay, heart is okay, everything is okay, fine. It's the elbow problem. Can you do that? You can't do it, because if it is hurting, it is an integral part of you. It will pain you, it will bother you all the time. But you say, no, it's okay. And you try to ignore. It will give you sleepless nights until you address that, because that's the part of you. Same way, my dear Vasudeva Kutumbakam, whether you like it or not just human beings, even the animals and birds, all kind of species, they're all one. You cannot hate one, dislike one. Raga, Dvesha cannot be there. These are the lower tendencies. Anyways, these have all been told by all the great masters all the time, so I don't want to get too much into it. So it will look like preaching. I'm not preaching here. I'm linking it with the teachings, the mystical teachings, the highest, deepest teachings, and how the mystics have achieved that level. Not a single mystic you will find who is devoid of unconditional love and oneness. Show me one mystic, one Avadut who says that is separate, this is separate. Read any mystics, any of those teachings. Read the Avadut Gita, my dear ones. Forget everything. Pick up today the Avadut Gita. Just read about it. You will be shaken up. 95% I don't follow. I love the Avduts, but not the Avdut Gita. What kind of nonsense is that? It's not by fluke that Lord Dattatreya has given. Lord Dattatreya, the father of Avduts, has given the Avdut Gita. We adore Bhagavan Dattatreya, but we refuse to look into what he's trying to say. Isn't that hypocrisy? I'm just talking to the people on the path of Avdutas. I don't know about other paths. I'm talking about the mystics. And that is why I was more than happy to bring out this page and put out such kind of information into that. Because it helps me also. Very honestly, I'm saying, because when I'm doing a lot of work, a lot of things happen to me. It's all part and parcel. That's the beauty of it. What you work on, it helps you also. When you light the path of somebody else, that flame lights your path also. Simple as that. So it helps me, it's a part of my sadhana also to do this. I'm not doing this as a time pass job. This is my full-time kind of work. That is what I wanted to speak about, the mystical mistakes. Again, I thought it should be a 1 hour session, but I think I went overboard as usual. But it's okay. The points that I mentioned here are very important, and the people who are seeing the recorded version also will find it helpful. And I'm going to share this to the Facebook page of Mystical Mistakes and also put it on the blog there, Mystical Mistakes, this video, because it speaks entirely about the mystical mistakes. So when you're looking into mystical mistakes, don't make the mistake of misinterpreting this as just another website. Just okay, some information. No, I would like to share a lot more than that, much deeper. So, and even I told you, everything is so spontaneous. Even this post that I put yesterday about generating money for the yogis and sadhus was a very spontaneous idea that came into my mind. Something happened, 2 3 things happened simultaneously, and I said, should do something. I didn't know what to do. Morning I was sitting and something happened. It just got created, padafat, and it just rolled. The moment it rolled, I just, without thinking much, I just put it out. And I'm very happy. I thank every one of you who are so kind-hearted and compassionate, because this is not for me. It gives me immense joy to see that one post you put and people so beautifully responded to it. I had just thought, like, let us put for 1 lakh rupees for these people who are yogis, who are sadhus, who are fakirs, who are wanderers, who are devotees, who have no one, who depend on people for food, on temples for food, on mosques for food. Not that they are doing a big sacrifice. They live that way. They are happy that way. They don't have great needs. Very, very petty needs. 1 time, 2 times a day food. They don't hog beautiful food, great food, even kanji. Kanji is just boiled rice with little salt or no salt at all. They have it. Watery rice. Porridge, rice porridge, plain. They have khichadis, most simple food. Dal, rice mixed together. They devour it with great pleasure. And they love it. They don't live for that food, but they sustain on that food because they are doing their sadhana, they are doing some practices, they are moving on that path of divinity. So it pained me literally to see some of these people who have been depending so much on people and communities, and suddenly this pandemic has brought them little trouble. So when that happened, and this happened as very continuity, I'll tell you about incidences because I want to make this very clear uh, about this because I'm a very poor handler of money and I've always stayed away from all this money aspects. I could have done this before also, but I've deliberately stayed away. But this time I could not help. That is the reason I took it into my own hands because I do not know whom to trust to do this thing. So I thought I'll do it because I can look into these myself and see those who are needy can do it. I'm not saying I'm going to do a great thing. I don't know or the will, but I thought let me just do it with 1 lakh rupees, which I said 2 to 3 months also fine. What I'll do is I have identified around 4 5 people who are all on this path, and I see them struggling for even their monthly little cash or little food grains or and they don't deserve to by looking at the stature of their work, what they're doing. They must be in rags, but, for the society they are useless. But for consciousness, people on the path of consciousness, the path of light, will be able to see what a great privilege it is to have such souls on the earth, due to whom goodness is still prevailing. And they don't even ask about it. They don't complain, they don't get it. That's their greatness. So it does not make us great when we do help them in some way, but it's a divine act. Sadhu Seva. Now, sadhu doesn't mean only in saffron clothes. It might be a fakir who might be following Islam, or it might be somebody who's following Christianity or Sikhism or anybody. Who cares? Jainism, whoever. Path of light is path of light. They're striving to do that. All the bhikshuks, all the people who are on arms. I wonder in Tiruvannamalai what must be happening because all the hundreds of sadhus were depending on people for alms, for the food and everything. I don't know what must be the state there. Haridwar, Rishikesh, all the holy places, Banaras, Kashi. It is not that divine will not take care of them. It will. But again, that taking care also happens through some sources and mediums. So the times are very challenging. We should now shed off all this ours and mine. And so I was saying that money is not my cup of tea, but I took it in my hands, and this time I don't even know the platforms properly. So whatever I got it done, started moving, and I'm very thankful for all those people. 1 lakh was the target for 2 months that I had kept, and I see just in one day 35 to 40 has come in, close to 40% of that amount has come in. So that's a great thing. I mean to say, if your hearts are so open and you like somebody else to benefit out of the little extra that you've got, that you're sharing, it's a great thing. I've been doing this little, not great, but whatever I could afford through my own percentages, I was doing. But when I saw these at this level going on, I said I won't be able to do it myself. Let me take some help. There must be people who think like me. So if there are, let them do it. And I had ensured that I will not force anyone or go like hardcore publicity and all that. No, I thought I'll make this post, but I'll publicize it everywhere so that it reaches to more souls who can then decide whether they want to share it or not. So I'm happy because the other day I was last, I think 3 4 days back, I was in Sainath temple. There's a Sai Baba temple here, completely deserted. It pained me to see that nobody was there, hardly 2 or 3 people. However, it was very peaceful and very energetic. I went there and I was coming outside, and there was this vegetable market. I was looking at the vegetables. A tall man, old man, he was kind of limping, And he was only saying, Bala me Bijapur nalo. Means, child, I have come from Bijapur. I heard it twice. In Marathi, he was saying, looked at him. I thought he must be saying something. And I kept walking. Twice when he said, I asked him. Then when I looked at him, I saw he was this wanderer, like Pandharpuris, they wander, they go to on foot, walking to many devotional places. And he said, I came from Bijapur. So I don't know how he's come from there so far. And he couldn't walk also properly. He had a good physical structure and was tall, but he was an old man, probably close to his 60, 65 he was. So I asked him, do you need something to eat? He didn't say anything. He was walking. I said, you need something else. He said, huh. I understood he must be needing money because he's food, he must be food. Because people tell me, never give money, give them food. But what if he is full? What if he doesn't need for another 24 hours? What if his need is to buy a bus ticket? What if his need is something else that he needs for himself? And I gave him some money, which he took it in such gratitude and walked away. I felt very bad. I said, oh my God, all these people are depending so much on people. For that moment, I hoped, after he left, I thought, oh, I should have done more. I should have given more. But he was out of sight. I was only constantly cribbing, why did it not come into my mind? I could have given him additional some stuff because he's such an old man and he's on the path of spirituality, of religion, whatever. And he was so kind and humble in his talks. Rare to find such souls, and it pains that they are undergoing such things. So that moment when I was walking down back home, I decided this in my mind, I will do something, I don't know, put these posts, collect some money. And I know of other people on this path because I keep visiting various ashrams and places all this time. I've seen many people who are not even having proper source of income every month. They don't know. That's how they live, that's fine. But sometimes it becomes difficult, I've seen, but they don't say a word. I've seen in many places Bhagwan Nityananda itself. The caretakers of his place need it. What more can I say? Saddens me. In one place when I went, Bhagwan's disciples, Bade Baba's direct disciples, disciple is now living in a house taking care of it where Bhagwan was once there. She has no one to take care. It's an old lady. No source of income. When I went there to meditate, the pious soul tells me, I'll make you some coffee or something. You have and go. But it's lunchtime and you haven't had your food. I want to give you food. So you'll have to do one thing because we don't cook here. The people do not allow me to cook here. She lives in that place just like a caretaker. I also manage my food from outside, but they don't allow me to cook. But I want to give you food because you have come here. You shouldn't go hungry. So she's telling me, the cute lady is telling me, there is a good hotel next by. I will get some food for you. But please give me some money. I was so shaken up. I said, yes, I don't need food. I'm full. I asked her, did you have food? She says, I'll have with you. I said, no, it's okay. Just make me the black tea that you were telling. You give me that, I'll take it as prasad. And I'll buy you food. But you eat it. I gave her enough money. And she was happy with that. And then she opened her heart and said, this will sustain me for some time. And there is a Swami of so and so ashram. I do not want to take names here because it's all unwanted, messy things. People are not one in for one, and I don't want to put anybody in trouble. So I'm not taking any names. But she said there is one kind Swami of so and so ashram who's helping me, and I get around 2,000 rupees a month from there. A month. She survives on that. And who's she? Bade Baba's disciples. So these things touched me a little. And there is not one or two. I have seen a couple of them. And I was not knowing how to help them. So probably this one starts now. I'm hoping it goes whatever way and try to pull with it. So I'm not looking really to go out on the streets and hunt for yogis and sadhus and see who wants it and give them alms or food. No. And then click photos and videos and say, I have done this bhandara, I've given this food packets. No, it's not for that. I'm telling you. And that is why when somebody asked me, uh, who's going to handle this and how is going to be taken care of, and they even asked me questions like, how are you going to identify who's genuine, who is not? I said, please don't do anything. It's okay if you don't want to give. It's okay. I'm not asking this for myself or anything. So it's okay. That's all fine because there is no force. It's all on a trust and faith basis. So if you trust this is going somewhere for a good cause, do it. Otherwise, do not ask for justification. I will not give you justification. I can. So there will be something like, people asking, okay, what is the proof that it has gone there? What is the proof this has been done there? I am not going to post any testimonials. I'm not going to post any kind of videos or photos that this has been done. No answerability. If you trust, do it. If you don't, it's fine. I would like to make it very clear on this. I actually came to get this message, but it got stretched out. So it's good. I'll anyhow place this video in the sources. And these help. These kind of activities have helped in a very, very powerful way, because last time I was traveling in Ganeshpuri, Kanjangad, all these places. While I was in Ganeshpuri, I was doing live and I showed one place where there are people literally who have no one. There are 8 to 10 of them, and very bad conditions. I've shown that live, that place they live full of flies and horrible. And that day when I was shooting, there one person was missing, and I asked, where is this person? One bed is missing here. Not bed, somewhere down. They put the cardboard sheets and lie down there. It was raining cold. I said, where's this person? They said he's outside. I went and saw. He's outside. What happened to him? He was wrapped in a blanket and put outside because he was dead. He did not die inside. He was put outside. And in that rain, he died out. And because every time we used to go there with some snacks, refreshments, and all that, we used to see a lot of faces. One was missing, and came to know this is the situation. And I did a live of that place, and I was telling Ganesh Puri, this is a certain locality which needs a lot of help. And immediately on the same day, a kind gentleman, a seeker on the path of truth and light, same day, he met me there, and he arranged for breakfast every single day. And I think that was shot somewhere back in October, last October. From that day till today, every single day he's giving them breakfast. He's ensuring that they get breakfast. So these things do help. These live telecasts have helped. These kind of sharings have helped. This is Jyot Se Jyot Jagao. This is how we truly share with the less fortunate people. So it's okay. It's okay if you cannot afford it. You don't have to literally do it. There were people who put in very small amount also in this. Very cute to see. Very cute. Must be like a pocket money that they put, like 200, 500. They did it. That's what matters. I'm seriously telling, this is not a promotional video that I'm making here. Okay, I didn't come to tell you all this. Give or not give, and all that's all the what you want to do. I know it'll come. That's not a big thing. So I'm not. Please, I'm not here to convince you that you should do this in this way and that way. I'm just telling you the actual things that happen that we are not aware of. I'm trying to put some light into those things as to how it is actually there. So everybody who contributed in whatever way, it is going there. Every penny will be used for these causes only. First, all those people whom I mentioned, who are surviving on some little amount, and send it to them. And then my eyes will be always open to people who need it, in whatever way, food or necessities or cash or whatever, and I'll be doing that in whatever in my physical vicinity, from the same amount that you guys are spending it. So I know there's a lump sum amount. I know very well this amount can be spent, and I know how to diversify it. How I can very easily rotate it without having later any kind of regret. Oh, I could not do this, or that person should have got it. Something other. Till it happens, it happens. I don't know what are the plans on this, but it has started in this manner. It's fine. At least 1 month, 2 months, whatever goes in, and then continue or whatever. I don't know. It's a very spontaneous act that has happened, and I launched it on mystics only. So that's a good thing, because that's the platform of all the great enlightened beings. So let it be under their grace and blessings. This is all like, karmic imbalances that have happened in this world. The imbalance of the rich and poor. Somebody has so much of land, so much of land, and lying vacant and never being used, and they're just like what do you call, real estate, and for security reasons, or for what do you call, value. So much of land, the people, and one at the other end you see there is not an inch of land for somebody, like that man who died in the rain, in the blanket. This is a karmic imbalance. Somebody has so much of filthy rich there, so much. I wouldn't call it really filthy rich. It's good to be wealthy. It's your own karma. It's the Raj Yoga. There is good wealth, appreciate it. And those who are in dire poverty, don't have even 1 square meal a day. It's their karmic this only, consequence only. It's okay. But let us not put a full stop there. It is their karma. I have a lot of wealth. It is my karma, good karma, and they are bad karma. There is nothing good, bad karma in that stuff. What I'm trying to say is, those who have too much, now is the time to start melting it. When the whole planet is moving towards that oneness, where everything, no barriers are kept, we should understand this. It is our humans that we hold on to that stuff. Your good karma, very good. Don't you want that good karma to become the best karma for your future lives by devolving it to the people who need it rather than dying filthy rich? I've seen people around here also, in the localities where there are stories, people in their old age, they're going to die, but they're still struggling, court cases, fighting for wealth. They want everything in their name. And if you look at them, you don't know next minute they might die. That condition also there is holding. Whereas that is the state when you should say this body is gone, it is withered off, it might conk off any time. What I've accumulated and hoarded for myself, it will rot. It has to be given away. And this is the best time to give away and keep what is necessary for you. I don't say give everything and become a fakir, but you don't need that much. You don't even need the 95% of it. 5% is enough to sustain you for very long. But that thought has to come only with the evolution of the consciousness. These are the benefits of evolving with the consciousness. Only until the consciousness rises, these things are going to be there. So it is not just about the good karma and bad karma. Somebody suffering their bad karma, that's okay. But you have a good karma, you can always help the people with bad karma. We are focused so much on making the good people better, or the good things even better. Good will become better in some or the other way, because good is still in a good state. What about the bad who is thriving? I'm not saying the bad who wants to be bad. I'm saying there are a large percentage of bad or not good people who are thriving or struggling to become good, which is a positive sign. Their hand should be held. I'm not saying lift up everybody who's bad or negative or who want to cause harm and leave them. Okay, that's fine. But there are people who are evil but want to shed their evil and want to embrace light, and they're struggling in that process because that process is so hard and mucky. And at that time, if we become judgmental, no, I'm not going to touch you, I'm only looking to the good people, very difficult. The approaches have to change. Maybe it used to work before, but right now, post corona, on the past few months, things have changed. Outlook has to change now. So it is all about the fortune that I have. I have everything. And I'm telling you, this again, I'm not saying you got to give it through these sources. You give it through any sources. Doesn't matter. And when I'm telling you, if you have a doubt that what might happen to these things or that thing, and I don't know and all that, then I'm saying it's okay if you don't give, but at least you do it. You don't trust anybody, you trust at least yourself. You go out, keep an eye on such things, start such activities, and you do it. If you are wealthy, if you have capability that God has given you, use it in that way. You do it yourself. You have enough people and resources to do it, but do it. That's the intention here. Trying to just help out. And this one community is those people, the yogis, sadhus, and wanderers and fakirs, the people who are always neglected because taken for granted. We look into all the other aspects. There are poor people, there are slum people, there are orphans, there are old age homes, there are all sect of people. But this is one thing which I feel which has not come into notice, and they do need, because they are everything in there. They are orphans, they are old age homes kind of people only. discarded or aloof, who need support. All put together, they are there. Or the poor or the slum people, they're like that. Everything is there in that one quality. So that's how it goes. And that's how I promoted it. I just projected it and I'll try to put it. And as I told you, I've never done this before. This is the first time I'm doing this. So not necessary that you have to do it in this way. You can also do it in your own areas. Just be watchful. Just be kind to people who need it, especially the people who are struggling at this time. If you are also struggling, I'm telling you, my dear, there are many who are struggling during the pandemic. Because it's not that there might be a lot of genuine souls who want to help, but they don't have their own resource. That's okay, my dear. Even if you feel that need to help, that shall happen. It will very clearly happen. That need is enough. It will happen. You will be guided to help in some or the other way. That ichcha, that bhav is more than enough. So that's okay if you don't have, like for example, I do not have much resources, but something prompted here and things have happened. So you can do it in that manner. At the same time, I have this account totally different because I have two accounts. One is my regular work, what I do, and this is only I use it for such kind of purpose, which I've always used. So this account is separate. This is just I've made very sure that I don't mingle both the minds. I mean, both the amounts, the funds should not be mixed up because whatever comes from there has to go, every penny of it, every single penny has to go for that purpose. So I've kept it separate. Of course, even I have people who have donated to my causes also, like all the online work that I'm doing and whatever services I'm able to do. It needs a lot of support, online support, which I've put it in many of my blogs, like buy me a coffee. It's a good concept, buy me a coffee. That's not like you put in hordes of money and all that. It can be done. It doesn't take much time. To pull in money, it doesn't take much, but we don't need it. My other needs is just for the work that I'm doing, like for the domain charges, the hosting charges, the website maintenance, sustenance, and all this thing that comes with it, the heavy broadband stuff, whatever comes with it, the, the what do you call it? The material that is needed for doing this work. So I was needing support for that because every time I did not want to go because I do not charge anything for any of my services. I'm doing a lot of other works also internally, which I don't charge anything for. I want to keep it that way. So there is no actual source of income to support these things. I'm not talking about my livelihood. That's going fine with the grace of God and the Guru. So that's absolutely fine. I'm talking about these expenses. So what I put buy me a coffee on my all my websites and all my places. So if you see there, it's like one coffee is $1 or $3 or something. I don't know. I think it's $3 or $4. So when somebody buys me one coffee, that small amount gets paid through the PayPal account into this account, and that's how these charges are being able to be maintained. So that's a completely different task that has nothing to do with these funds and all that. So that is as it is. That is a very petty amount and all that's going. So that also is fine because if you appreciate this kind of work, if you appreciate anything that is touching your heart or touching your lives or transforming it or helping you in any way, the work that I'm trying to do on all these platforms, you are free to buy me a coffee. That's no problem. That's a complete different entire stuff. So I do not want you guys to mix up these two things. I do not want. I have kept it very separate. So anyways, this is the first time, and many people said that that's not very, it's too hard to go in there. Go cowdera.com, some website is there which has raised that campaign, and they are doing it. They have got these graphs, and they've got this way of handling it. The dashboard is good enough to handle all these things. That is why I chose there, and plus there is some proof of money coming and going and all that. I chose it, but again the transfer rates are very high there. The costs of what do you call, the commissions of all through Razorpay or RuPay or PayPal or whatever, especially the foreign funds and all, because the legalities are too much, and a lot of deductions happen there, which is a little bothersome because it's all hard-earned money of people, and then it has to go completely there, then get lost in all these things. Anyway, this is the first time, so I tried it. Then some people wanted PayPal to pay directly, and that is a good thing if you want to do that. I can give you the direct PayPal thing also, because that will save a lot of things. And the other thing is, I noticed with the payment through Stripe or RuPay or the other Razorpay and all that, they have a time of like 7 days, 15 days, after which it gets credited. And the international payments have something like 120 days to get moved from there to there with some good amount of percentage of their commissions. So all these things are there anyways, these are all bound to be there. So one thing is directly is the PayPal, which I can definitely give. Today somebody asked me, I want to do a net banking IFSC. I had to put my bank account there, which I don't want to do. Let it come through this, I was saying. But in some cases, okay, where people are troubled and they're very desperate to, they're very eager to share that, but they're not able to. So for such people, it's good enough. Anyways, I want to thank all of you in whichever way you have made this approach and are trying to make it better for everybody. So this is good enough, and this will help. One sec. And it will help all of us. So lights have gone here, and I think this was a brief note that I actually wanted to share, but I'm happy that the first part of this message, the video, has a lot of details about the mystical mistakes, probably that was intended to flow, and that was not a part of this video, but it flowed, and it should help those who are very serious on this path. So with this, is there any message? Sandhya ji, how can we donate? Actually, Sadhyaji, I have posted the link of how to donate. So I think I can post you that details. I'll just reply it there only. I'll just put you the link there, because I don't know if you have missed it. And okay, I missed the post when it went. I'll post a reply to this. I'll just put the link of that website which is dealing with this, and you can try to go through that, or you can, if you have any problem, you can just refer back to me. I'll come back and give you the PayPal. There are some options of PayPal also which I have shared there. So you see whichever is better for you, you can do it in that way. Especially the foreign funds, if you are from some other country, then definitely PayPal works better. There any other? Sandhya Desai. During meditation, I feel itching or something. Feel like getting up from the meditation. All these things are very normal. Don't worry much about it. The feeling of itching, burping, belching, uneasiness, all those things are there. All those things do happen. They are all part of the Kundalini activations. And if the Kundalini is active, it can manifest into various different kind of symptoms on the body and show up instantaneously during that time of meditation. So surrender is very important, connection to your guru is very important. Do all those things and do not mind those things too much. Allow it, because in samarpan, surrender, all those things happen. So you just allow those things to happen. Whatever naturally has to happen will happen. And the urge to get up and all those things are very normal things, because that is how you are practicing meditation. We are not perfect yet. Many even said that they feel intense pain in their legs. They can't fold it for a long time. They can't sit straight. The back aches. All those things happen because this is actually the practice of getting asan siddhi. You have to get asan siddhi. Asan siddhi means ability to sit for long hours in one particular position, maybe probably the Padmasana, without shaking or movement. And for that, you have to sit and practice. Do not give in to the urge all the time. Like if there is an itch, try to be aware of it, watch it, observe it rather than reacting impulsively. And slowly that mastery will come. Even the pain in the body, legs aching, watch that itch. I mean, watch that pain. If it's getting too intense, let it. And think what is going to happen. Am I going to die if I don't move my leg? Still there will be a temptation to move your leg. Sit with that temptation confidently and say, let me see what will happen, and observe it without reacting. You will see that it goes to such an extent that you will feel that your body is going to tear with whatever pain. It will go to a saturation point, and if you still don't react, it will stay there for some time, a few seconds, probably a minute or two, and then it will start subsiding. That's the beauty of it. When you keep doing that repeatedly, that thing subsiding, because I used to do this in my earlier days when the pain used to be intense. I used to not move my leg, just watch it. And then what used to happen after that intense pain, that I used to feel that if I don't move, something is going to happen to me, my leg, something. But still I said, at the most, what, are you going to die or what? And when I did not budge, after a few seconds to a few minutes, it used to come down, and then sometimes my leg used to go numb. The feeling of leg only, as though leg is not there only. Those kind of feelings used to come. And sometimes even after meditation, after when I come, I used to literally not feel the legs. Hold it, press it, and probably like 4 to 5 minutes sit there. All these are part of getting you into the asan siddhi. So that is what the practice is all about. Sadhana means practice. You have to practice all those things. So it's okay if you're getting all those things. Don't mind it too much, because the body will try to distract you from the main focus, core of your meditation. That should not go away. So bring it back into awareness, into that what you're doing, whatever practice you're doing, and do not give too much of weightage for these. And even if it happens, then follow these things, bear through it, go through it, and you'll see you'll transcend it. So with this, I think I should take your leave. A lot of thanks to all of you who have been watching and patient enough. The 15 gradual 15 to 20 people who have not moved away even for some time here. That means something is relating to you very strongly here. And I'm happy to have you here and share my views today on this. I don't know if I'll be online tomorrow. Tomorrow is a Sunday because I've talked today enough. Oh, is that a good sign or omen or something? Because usually I want to spend Sundays with something good, but I think what I wanted to share about mystical mistakes I've shared in there today. So I think that is done. But if there is anything else, I don't know if you have any. Thank you, Priyaji, for all your blessings all the time. But if you have anything in mind that you think needs some attention on or should be spoken on, please put a message or comment here, or you can put a direct message inbox. From there, I'll try to, because I don't know. Usually after 1 or 2 live sessions, I take good amount of rest. It takes a little strain because everything is energy. It's not just talks. So it puts a little strain. So I don't want to strain myself too much on this. So let me see how the things are. But thank you, everyone. Kanjariya ji, thank you. So with lots of divine love and light from the bottom of my heart, stay blessed. Gurudev Sharan. Guru Mandala Sharan. Bye. Buddha ji, Buddha Moktan, thank you. Susmita Mani ji, thank you. See you, bye.